This podcast is brought to you by the following
Why don't you go like
sponsors.
this and have lightning come from your hands? Yeah.
I'll just do this.
Effects.
Finishers MMA is located at 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA, Lehigh Valley's home for 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. The amount of people that they have over there instructing is insane. They have J.M. Holland, John Thor Blanks opening up 10th Planet Allentown, Zach Meslaney, Grace Gundrum. It is elite teaching over there. They teach self-defense, no-gi jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. They have a kids martial arts program that is building and growing, and Grace is teaching every single kids class. Get over there. They are the biggest killers in the game. That's 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA. Do you have anything to interject?
You didn't let me talk. I don't know.
No, I would like trying to get quicker on that. But they have multiple schools, and it's www.finishersmma.com. That has their schedule on there, and it has when they rotate everything. And they have evening classes because if you work and you can't get there, they even have, I think, an 8 o'clock class on Wednesday.
The thing I like the best is that they treat people with respect. It's not like one of those weird places you go and they talk down to you and, you know, like I'm a big bad sensei kind of crap.
No, not at all.
They're super cool guys. Everybody that goes there is nice. Everybody's friendly. It's just a wonderful place to go and learn jiu-jitsu. Wonderful place to go learn choke people.
Yeah.
Just go choke some people.
Every time I've been over there, and I get a little intimidated sometimes going into classes like that, even like going to the gym or like the Y, I get a little uncomfortable, and they make you feel at home there. Super professional. The guys have been doing it for a while. Zach, JM, and Thor all have their black belts. So
and they have crazy top-notch equipment. Everything is awesome. It's not some...
Yep. Every now and then they do
awesome. It's an awesome place.
Seminars and stuff there too. So check it out. It's finishersmma.com, and they are located at 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA. Their social media is everywhere, so you can go find them. And thank you guys for being a sponsor. Taylor Edge Wood Company. Drew Hoagland. They make handmade and local crafting and bringing you gorgeous custom wood design. If you're looking for a custom table, nightstand, countertop, and more, they can help you. Drew made this table and that desk. A lot of people always have asked us who did this, and it was Taylor Edge Wood Company. Their social media you can find is Taylor Edge Wood Co. on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram has a lot of the pictures and stuff. That's the best place to follow them. They just got the website up. It should be running by the time this airs, but that's tayloredgewoodco.com, and he's going to have cutting boards on there. Their T-shirts are really cool. I know they're doing fall shirts for that, and he's just a stand-up guy. He's done nothing but help the show since day one and has really ultimate crafting.
Yeah, if you're looking to get something different for your home and you don't want to have the same boring home with the same boring box store, stupid tables that are particle board that are wrapped in crappy vinyl stuff, check him out. He'll come and give you an estimate, let you pick out whatever you want. He's a crazy nut for black walnut, and he loves the stuff, the smell
He's
of it.
Obsessed with
crazy.
it.
It's a little awkward, but he's very very talented. And like I said, if you want something custom and nothing says that you're cool, then I have a damn custom table and you don't.
Yeah, and you get professional quotes, and he's also got that he's going to be having that on the website where you'll be able to get quotes off of there. So if you're looking for top-notch,
locally sourced,
everything's out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, support local people.
Yeah, so hit them up. You can hit up tayloredgewoodco@gmail.com for any inquiries on what you need. Instagram's a good way to get a hold of him, and he runs it with his wife, so they're super local to us, and they helped us out since the beginning. So please go check them out, and thank you for being a sponsor.
All right, our next sponsor is All Valley Rooter and Plumbing.
Jared LaBarba. I've been friends with Jared for almost my entire life, and he came down to the studio looking to sponsor, and we had a long conversation, and he wanted help building in the Nazareth area. He has a lot of work in the Lehigh Valley, but he specifically wanted to get into Nazareth, and we have a really big reach in Nazareth. It's not a big place, but we do have bigger reach than anyone else here.
We control the whole
We
town.
own Nazareth. But Jared went through his whole story and told me everything he's doing, and his plumbing is top notch. Yes. They do faucet repair, sub pump replacement, sink installation, pipe installation, leaks, toilet repair, and more. They have 24-hour service, 365 days a year. They charge by the job, not the hour. All services come with a 1-year warranty and guarantee. He's going to be our plumber from now on if we have any problems with the sink and whatnot. Yeah. Having plumbing issues is probably one of the biggest headaches ever.
It's one of those things that if something goes bad with your plumbing, it's really bad. There is no minor plumbing issue. And it's good to have someone that's local that you can call, that you know, and say, hey, I really need your help, as opposed to some guy that he's going to spend, he's going to take 3 hours to get there and he's going to show up. He's going to overcharge you. It's just not worth it. Go with a local guy, super professional. He can do everything you really want. He lists a bunch of stuff there, but I'm pretty sure he can do pretty much everything involving plumbing. So I'm just going to call him for everything. So. Whatever.
Yeah, and you have 2 properties that you can use them for now, too, because you didn't have a good experience.
No, they were horrible.
I wish you would say who it was.
I really hate that.
His website is allvalleyrouter.net, and that is the place where you're going to find all of the information you need to get a hold of Jared if you have any plumbing issues, or if you're just trying to get quotes for stuff. But they are 365 days a year. They are open 24 hours, and we want to thank him for being one of our first sponsors on the show. It means a lot, and all you Nazareth peeps or anybody in the Lehigh Valley who wants a trusted, reliable, professional plumber, please contact Jared.
And our next sponsor is Rips Auto Detail. I love this guy. Go ahead.
One of my favorite guests on the show.
Cool. He's a really nice guy. He's a very good DJ also, by the way.
Yes, and he's super professional at his job. He's got over 15 years of experience. He's located at 630 North Nelson Street in Allentown, PA. He does paint correction, ceramic coating, interior, and pro auto detail. If you follow him on Rips Auto Detail on Instagram, it's insane what this guy actually does with a car.
I am recommending that you go to Popeyes, which is right up the street, and you put fingerprints all over your vehicle, and then you go there, and he will make it perfect again.
Yeah, he's got 15 years of experience. He's got a package for everyone. What he stressed on the show is that he doesn't just do super high-end vehicles. Yep. He can do anything from, if you just have a daily driver and you just like having a clean car, you can get that done, all the way up to getting a boat done.
Yeah, well, it's worth it because I had my SUV detailed last year, actually, just because, especially when you live around here with the salt and everything else, if you get a really good detail on it, it actually will keep your car looking better than dealing with all the salt, because you keep going for car washes and stuff. That's not good. So if you get a really good detail on it, it actually will help all that stuff. So it basically winterizes your thing. And plus, when it gets nice out, you just go there and get it, just touched up a little bit, get it, refreshed, and you have a car that doesn't look like you're a slob.
You can contact him directly on Instagram, and that's at Rips Auto Detail, or you can call him at 484-553-1366. If you really want to know what this guy does, check out our past podcast with him. It's got a boatload of information. I didn't know, I knew he was good at what he was doing, and he opened his own business and all that, but to hear the story of how he got to where he's at and the 15 years experience, he's a super pro. He's a really great guy. Just go check out his stuff at Rips Auto Detail on Instagram, Facebook, and his website is coming soon. So go check him out, and he's one of our first sponsors as well. And we couldn't do the show without all these people, so I want to thank everyone. And shout out to Rips Auto Detail, and give him a follow.
And he gives you a free bucket of chicken.
No, he does not.
He's from Popeyes, says he does. Put that in there.
He didn't even like Popeyes.
Rips, you need to give out free chicken. Thank you.
Check out what he's doing on social media, and we won't use that part. And then we'll end it with, this is a professional Class A operation. Check out the podcast we did with him.
Our next sponsor is Luke Delmeyer Custom Knives. If you've ever wanted a custom knife, say a chef knife, say a camp knife, say any kind of cool custom knives, I'm sure any of you guys have watched Forge and Fire or whatever, this guy actually does that. He makes wonderful, crazy knives. He's leaps and bounds above anybody you're going to have around here. He's a good dude. You can contact him and give him basic parameters of what you want to make for our custom knives. He does sell his own knives on his website.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different knives on the website and his Instagram as well.
Instagram, he puts it up a little bit, and he'll say, hey, man, I'm selling this. His website's lukedelmeyer.com. Yeah, I mean, he lists a bunch of stuff. Like I said, you can ask for the custom stuff. He's starting a new line, which you can talk about, of the chef knives.
Yeah, the chef knife that he brought over to the studio was incredible because he showed me the demo one that they started with that he made out of a leaf spring, which is insane. But then what he handed off to me, I immediately just wanted to start prepping and cutting onions.
You were trying to.
I was excited to cook, and that's what a chef knife should do. And if
you just
you're
kept telling him you wanted to use it to cut something.
I did. And if you're looking for a chef knife or any sort of custom knives that you would like in your life for whatever reason, this guy, the amount of work that he's putting behind it, the craftsmanship that's behind his actual craft with blacksmithing, the dude's extremely talented, extremely humble, and please go check out his social media, and it's Luke Delmeyer at Instagram. That's where you're going to get a lot of his knives. He's testing the knives.
But you forgot the coolest part.
What's that?
You want to make your own knife?
Yeah.
He's got classes.
Yeah. That's right.
He has his own classes. You can go there, look like an idiot, because that's what I'll probably look like when I do mine. But you can go there, and he offers classes and teaches you how to make a knife. And I think that's awesome because there is no one and nowhere in this area that does that.
No. And if you're looking for a custom knife of any range, whether it's something that you're just looking for hiking, or if you're looking for a chef knife, or you're just looking to collect something as a hobby, go check out his social media, check out his webpage, get in touch with him, and see which knife is right for you. And that's lukedelmeyer.com. And thank you for being a sponsor. Episode 55. All right. We are rolling. Welcome to Never Again Radio, guys. Thank you for driving all the way out here from the wonderful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Of course, man. It was like an hour 15, you said?
Yeah, about an hour 15.
Yeah, Philly's not bad. We used to, I first started going to Philly, we'd be drinking and my buddy would be like, let's go get cheesesteaks. And then that was the first trip. And then I try and go back as much as possible. It's a really great hang. What part of Philly are you guys from?
I live right outside the city in Delco.
Yeah.
But Nick.
I live right in the city. I was in South Philly for many years, and then I just bought a place on the cusp of Fishtown in Kensington.
I like Fishtown. My first time hanging out there was like last year.
Yeah,
it's a good time. Do you like being like in the city? Are you a city guy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was in Virginia. I was telling you how I was in this small town for a while. And the city life was always appealing to me. Like, I was like, I want to ride a bike everywhere. And so when I moved to Virginia, that was like my goal. And I moved to Richmond, and I moved into the art district. It was like by the museum and that. And I was able to ride my bike everywhere. And it was like one of my favorite things that I did was I lived city life for a year. And it's awesome. I didn't use a car. I was in shape. I rode my bike 12 miles every day. It's different than it is out here, but it's quite an experience when you're like really in the city. Have you always lived primarily in the city?
No, I'm from State College, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So small. I moved out to Cincinnati, and I was out there for 4 years, and then I've been in Philly now for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And my whole time in Philly, I've been like right in the thick of things.
Yeah. Now you guys just opened up Crown and Feather Tattoo.
We did. We opened up a year ago in August.
How did the two of you come together?
We worked together at Art Machine Productions for a while. We, I guess towards the end of our time there, I know Nick and Andy were talking about opening up this place, and they ended up coming to me, and kind of painting it like, hey, would you be interested in joining us for this, this new kind of progressive tattoo shop that would be our own collective rather than a, just working for someone else.
Yeah. Do you prefer that? Like, have you worked underneath like a shop owner?
Yeah. I mean, tattoo artists in general, I think, have a little bit more freedom than some other some other businesses in terms of like how much control the boss has, but I have prior to Crown and Feather, I have always worked under someone else.
Yeah.
And in any situation, you know, there are things that as long as you're working for someone else, there are going to be changes that you would prefer to make, but it's not your call.
Yeah.
You know? And it's nice now because it is our call.
It certainly is. Yeah, there's definitely something about that, you know, just that freedom to do stuff as you want it to be. You don't have to run anything by, you know, a boss or anything like that. There's, there's really something about that that's special for it to be your own.
Yeah, I just started doing this full time. I mean, I've been doing the clothing since I was 28, and then I created the podcast about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. So like, I worked for the post office. I always worked underneath people. I worked in restaurants, and it never worked out. Like I was just like what you said. You want to change things, and then you like bring ideas to people, and even though they're good, some people don't like them because they didn't come up with them. Then you run into that nonsense, and then it was so scary to walk into this 100% on my own. But then when I finally did it, I'll never go back to working underneath anybody ever again. Like I'll constantly figure this out enough to get by instead of working. There's such a freedom to it that it's kind of hard to explain. What was that like for you guys to finally get into a position where you were your own boss and you didn't have to listen to whatever people were saying, and you could create your own hours and make it a private shop? Like, how good did that feel to finally, like, when you guys sat down and be like, all right, we're doing this and here's the list of shit we're going to do. Like, what was that like to move forward?
It's very liberating. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing like being able to be your own boss. And like even just down to the dumb stuff of like, oh, I don't have to like check in with anyone if I want to take the day off or something.
Yeah.
But even much more beyond that, like, you know, we come up with these different projects that we want to pursue, and it's like we don't have to run anything by anyone. Like, as long as we collectively think it's a good idea, we have our own go ahead to do so.
I also like that you had mentioned like you have an idea, a good idea, and you take it to the boss, and maybe they don't want to do it because it wasn't their idea or whatever. But it's almost harder if you do have a good idea and then you take it to the boss, and then all of a sudden it becomes their idea.
Yeah.
Like inherently, if you come up with a good idea and take it to the boss and it gets implemented in the shop, they're not going to be like, it's the shop's thing, you know, and it's the boss's shop, so it's theirs now, you know. Here, you know, at Crown and Feather, when we come up with like an interesting concept or whatever, be it good or bad, like we get to own it, you know, and it's representative of us, which I think is fun.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
How long did it take for you guys to get to where you're at? Like, we can peel it back. Like, where did you guys get into art and tattooing, and like how did it all begin for each of you?
Well, I guess for me, like, you know, when I decided I wanted to start tattooing, I was in high school. I was working on, you know, just going through like the art major programs and stuff in my high school. But
where you think they were like beneficial, or just kind of like, okay, here's art?
They were definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
You know, I learned a lot, and I was able to start seeing myself excel beyond some of the other students in these programs. So I knew I had something that would work. I guess it was just a matter of figuring out like, okay, how do I want to use this art to make it a profession? And how I got started in tattooing was I actually went with my girlfriend to get her first tattoo, and just seeing the whole process, I was like instantly just infatuated. Like, oh, this is cool. I want to fucking learn how to tattoo. And it just kind of took off from there. I ended up getting an apprenticeship at one of the local shops. And eventually kind of outgrew there, went on to another spot, went to Art Machine, and then, we decided we wanted to do our own thing.
I've been tattooing for 12 years professionally. I'm 35, and I started doing tattoos at 18, just
damn, that's
on
young.
The sly. Yeah, well, it was the same thing as Dylan said. That I was in a shop and I got my first tattoo, and I was just infatuated. Like right then, that's what I wanted to do. You know, I saw the is the kind of subversive nature and like traveling and I remember everyone that was in the shop, and I remember the music that was playing, and it was just very, very impactful. And I asked for an apprenticeship that day, and I was did
they take you serious?
I think that we'll say no. I'm an 18-year-old kid with one tattoo of a star.
They're like, cool, someone will sweep the shop.
And they're like, this is something that can be done, but it's not going to happen right now. You got to they suggested going to art school and stuff. And I'm very impulsive. And so I tried to teach myself, and that was a nightmare. So I hung that up and I did go to art school. And then in my junior year, studying at Penn State, I got my foot in the door at the same shop that I got my first tattoo at, actually.
Oh, that's cool that it came full circle. How old were you when you finally got back in there to work then?
I started, I was working there when I was 22, and I started tattooing professionally there when I was 23.
It's interesting how both of you brought up like the first time you walk into a tattoo shop, because I haven't thought about it in so long, but you guys both really hit it on the head. Like there's just that vibe, and you walk in and you hear the tattoo guns, and then like the art was just, the art always spoke to me on the walls, and I was just like, man, like what a rad place. And then just meeting the tattoo artist, and then the whole process was so addicting to me, where I was just like, the guy was really cool. It was John Bicknell from Steel City in Bethlehem. And, like we talked the whole time, and you're spending time with somebody. And I thought it was so cool that like this older guy was like talking to me about tattoos. Yeah. And I thought it was so, my brother had been tattooed, and it was, back then it wasn't, my mom hated it. And then it got to a point where the shit was on TV and it was more commercialized, and you start seeing it where then my mom would be like, oh, did you see my son's tattoos? And I'm like, yeah, what about all the fights? But it was just, I love hanging out in tattoo shops. I love it. I just started getting into it more and going to different shops. And then like when you said traveling, like I was always jealous of their lifestyle, because they had a specific freedom where, they had the shop boss, but the shop boss was always kind of laid back, and then they were doing the conventions, and I'm like, wait a minute, you can go do this for 3 days and you get to stay here and tattoo, and you're hanging out, and the after parties with the people, like the whole culture was just so, I don't know, it was something I was really into for a really long time. The older I got and the busier I got with this, like less time I have to hang out in tattoo shops or get tattooed, but it's just something that I feel like if you walk in and it bites you, it doesn't really ever let go.
Yeah. I've seen some people say it's like the closest thing to being a rock star without being a rock star.
Tattooing?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that when you were talking about your first, it's not the same for everyone. Sometimes I'll tattoo people and they won't even know what shop they're at. That happened more at walk-in shops, but
that's true too. But
I think part of it is like the larger than life image that gets put on tattoo artists. And I don't know, it's been so long since I was that kid that thought of like tattoo artists as rock stars. And so much has changed in the industry, like with Instagram and the TV and stuff. I don't know if that's still the case or not. But then when you were talking just now about traveling around the world and stuff and conventions and going to the after parties, it's like, actually it kind of feels I don't feel like a rock star until you put it that way, and then I'm like, actually I get to do cool shit.
Yeah, there's not many other professions that support like being able to potentially travel full time and make a good living doing so.
Yeah, I know people that set it up where they'll go over to Europe, and like if you have the connections and you can line it up, or if you can get on that convention circuit. And like what was fun for me is I was able to dip into it with the t-shirts. So it's like a lot of the t-shirts, primarily most of the ones on the wall, were done by tattoo artists. So then it was easy to sell those designs to people getting tattoos because it was essentially flash. And then I started being able to go to conventions because they allow clothing companies to go. So that's kind of the first time where I was like, it felt so cool to me, where I was like, yeah, I'm setting up a booth. And like, but all my friends were tattoo artists, so they'd line up next to me and they fully supported the line. But it was cool to be able to like not be a tattoo artist, but yet be in that scene because I was connected to the other artists.
Oh, yeah.
And like I go up to Scranton, which is one of my favorite ones. And then they had the one in Allentown. And then it's like I did one in Jersey, and then there was a kid from Tennessee, and I think he lives or moved to New York though, but he was like, yo, you should come on the circuit, and like there's the 4 of us that do stuff down south, and like if you want to be the 5th, like you can come with and set up next to us. Like it was a very, very welcoming, cool little like traveling, like almost like gypsy-ish type crowd, but it's cool. It's cool. I'm it's so fascinating to me that you can take a skill like that, nobody can tell you what to do with it, and then you make it your own, and then you just work.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I feel like just like any business, you can, well, I mean, some are more limited than others, but you can do what you want with it. You know, I know people who they're totally satisfied working in a walk-in shop, and they don't
just banging out Flash all day,
and they just do the tattoos that come in, and that's it, and then they go home, and that's their thing. But I think everyone at the shop is ambitious, you know, and not just in work, but in like life. We want to travel around and do the really exciting things, you know, do overseas conventions and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, me personally, I know that like over the next year or so, that's something that I'm trying to implement into my schedule. Like every few months, go do a guest spot in Los Angeles, New York, or even starting to do some stuff in Europe. I mean, that's just one of the major benefits of this job, is that you can travel to these different places and make decent money doing so.
And then when you make friends with those people at the shops, it's like it's kind of comes on routine. Like a buddy of mine, he used to tattoo right down the road. His name is Elvis, and he went into Baltimore, and he started there, and then he bought a houseboat, and he lived on the houseboat, and then he connected with other tattoo shops and started taking his boat from like port to port, and would like,
that's great.
But it was crazy. But on his Instagram, you're watching him. I'm like, dude, you taught yourself how to. He went out and like took sailing license. I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but he's just such a nomad. But like, he'll use his boat and go from place to place, and then just tattoo for the weekend and make enough money, and then go somewhere else. And I mean, you could do it where you sit at a shop, like you said, and bang out Flash. But then there's the appeal of you literally can go anywhere.
Yep.
That's wild to me. Like, there's people who are on the road every weekend.
That's true.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do that personally, but
no, some of the people I talk to that come to the convention around here, they're on the circuit, and they're just like burned out by the time they're there, just to travel in the hotel. And
yeah, it is. When you do that, it's nonstop. I mean, you don't even have like a house to go to. Oftentimes, they're just on the road.
Yeah, that's why he set it up. He was living out of he bought a small school bus that was used, and then he set that up as a mobile home, and then bought the boat.
I want to fly somewhere and work there for the weekend and hang out, and then
fly back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you guys like? What are your bases as far as like the styles that both of you tattoo under?
Yeah, I think Nick and I both lean towards. We do a lot of like very fine line, intricate kind of tattoos, like small portraits, or even just more minimalist, like really fine line work stuff. He and I both got super into that over like the last year or two, and it's proved to be, in my opinion, I like it more. It's a lot more fun for me, and I like being able to work on something small, concentrate 2 hours on something, and you know, it can still be this cool detailed piece, but it doesn't have to be like multiple sessions over the course of like however many months.
No, that sucks. Once I started getting smaller tattoos, I was like, this is awesome.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so I feel like that's what we more lean towards.
Absolutely. I 2 years ago, it was all color illustrative stuff. And then I went out to California, and I worked out there for a little bit, and there's tons of like the fine line black and gray out there. And I came back, and I'm like, this is kind of something I'm interested in doing. And Dylan had just started picking it up, and even right off the bat, your work was really phenomenal. So it was like kind of a catalyst for me too to jump in there, and it kind of made it more approachable for me. Yeah. It's a challenging style to do.
Yeah, like if it's not right, it's not right. No. But I think that's the nice thing about you and I working together, is like we kind of push each other, as well as like, oh, I picked up this little tip, like why don't you try this next time? Yeah. Or same he to me. Like yeah, I don't know. It's nice to have that friendly competition to be able to push one another.
Mm-hmm. At the shop, we got a mix. You know, we have like a lettering guy, and Robert does more illustrative stuff, and Andy does traditional Japanese, and then our newest hire, Jillian, does kind of like neo-traditional color work. Would you say?
Yeah, it's like very, I'd say like the new style of neo-traditional, like really super saturated work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it has a kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? Like kind of Art Nouveau. It has like kind of Art Nouveau feel to it.
Sure, yeah.
A little bit, I don't know. But yeah, it's nice to have that, like, you know, we can push our fine line stuff, but it's really nice that anyone looking for any style can pretty much come to our shop and we can point them in the right direction of like, you know, this person's going to work best for you.
What would you guys say your style was before you got into this? Like, what did you learn off of? And then was it kind of like more flash stuff and then like getting into custom stuff? Like, how long did it take before like you were like able to actually turn the craft into exactly what you would want to do? Because I feel like that would take time in the industry to even have the ability to be like, okay, like I want to focus on this, because you're learning so many different styles because every customer coming in wants something totally different.
Yeah, I feel like what I heard and what my experience was is it takes about 3 to 4 years just to understand the medium, like how to tattoo. And then, you know, building the style comes on top of that. And it's not necessarily, you know, when I started, it was straight American traditional, like, you know, as straightforward as it comes. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. And then I started seeing the work of Dave Tevenall, and I wanted to sort of venture out a little bit. And then you have that weird time where you're kind of trying to do it, but you're not very good at it. And then you got to settle in.
That's got to be frustrating because it's got to feel like
it's
got to feel like when you just first started. So it's almost like you have to start over and then put in the time until you can understand that medium again.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Oh man, that's gotta be frustrating.
Yeah, I mean I kind of came up the same way, starting out with like American traditional, and then, you know, progressed into more neo-traditional illustrative stuff, and I stayed like pretty busy doing that, but I wasn't always totally satisfied with how my work would come out, because I feel like there's just so many people doing it honestly just better than me. So once I tried a couple of the fine line tattoos, I feel like it kind of appealed more towards like my older style of art. Like I used to do a lot more like pen drawing and like fine black and gray stuff. So I think for that reason it just came a bit more naturally to me. And then once I was able to like pick it up and figure out the technicalities of it, it started working really consistently. Yeah, at least in my experience.
How long did that take you?
What to
just transfer over to like really focus on? I mean, are you still working on like kind of honing in on making that like 100% satisfied on how you want it to be?
I'm never 100% satisfied.
That's good though. You're constantly pushing yourself.
Yeah. So I mean,
everyone always says that to me. They're like, "Oh man, this is awesome," and I was like, "No, I'm not done yet."
Yeah, it's always a never-ending process. But I don't know. I feel like I picked it up pretty quick and started you know, gaining a following with it. I was pretty consistent, but I feel like I've started to come into my stride. Like, I don't know. I guess over the last like 4 months or so. Well, aside from the coronavirus, like
yeah.
4 months prior to that. But yeah, like I do a lot of these little portraits and stuff, and I feel like they're like just really starting to work well. And yeah, just look how I picture like, oh, a good tattoo would look like that. And I look at my own work, I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that.
Now, the two of you, are you becoming known for this style of tattoos at this point?
I think so.
Yeah. Like, are people coming in and like
yes.
asking for small stuff?
Yeah, that's all we do.
That's awesome.
Very rarely do I get a request for something else.
Yeah. And if they would you kind of go and be like, hey, this guy at the shop's a little bit more focused on this, and you kind of stay in your creative niche that you're in, or would you kind of accept different styles, or are you guys kind of just staying in that lane at this point?
For a long time, I was back and forth, and I was, you know, when I was making the transition, I would do both, but more recently, I've been focusing on the black and gray stuff. That's
Yeah.
all I've been booking.
How did that feel to get it to a point, especially after just explaining how hard it actually gets there to then nail that craft down, that now you guys are known and you're getting booked, getting booked constantly for what the both of you wanted to do? That's got to feel, I mean, to have your own shop and then to be able to now do exactly what you want to do and be known for it, and it's a craft that you developed through all this, like, how did that feel to be able to do that 100%? It's got to be so freeing.
It's very satisfying. Yeah, I mean, just to be able to, have a consistent clientele that wants to come in for these specific tattoos. And another great part about it is that not many artists in Philadelphia do our kind of style. So it's like we kind of have the market cornered in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we started Crown and Feather, we kind of wanted to be like the fine line shop because it just didn't exist in the city at all.
Yeah.
Different shops have reputations for different styles, and it was just not represented anywhere.
Before I forget, with staying on this point, what was that drove you, the two of you, to open a shop that nobody else is doing? Was it just like a conversation? You're like, look, man, like, we should open this shit up. Like, we don't want to work for other people. I think that we could do this, and it could be the fine line shop. Like, how did that conversation start where the two of you wanted to open up? Basically, because you figure at this point, it's what you wanted to showcase, and now you are. So, like, what was that conversation like to get started?
Well, there are three of us. Three partners in total, so it's Dylan, Andy, and I. And we did all work at Art Machine, and there were changes that we would like to see implemented. And it got to the point where we just felt a little unheard. We wanted some changes, and it just wasn't happening the way we wanted. And so we just thought that it might be best to go and do our own thing and handle it the way we want over somewhere else.
And I think it's important to focus on that, where I think the people that are supposed to be doing their own thing are usually the people that it's not working to be underneath other people. Like, there's definitely people that are totally fine with just like punch in, punch out. But then if you're a type of person like yourself who's like, hey man, like, this is never complete, you're going to have a totally different standard than somebody who's just running a shop and being okay with kind of how things are. Not that that's bad, but like, I feel like if you're driven to a point to open your own shop, that it's kind of going to happen.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that at all, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I think even on top of that, like, you and I were just in a position where we were very sought after in the studio. So it was, I don't know, it's difficult to have that much of a draw to, the product that you're pushing, and then also giving a large cut of that, profit that you're making off of your draw to someone who, is just running the shop. And, I don't know. You'd rather put that in your own pocket, I think.
Sure.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Especially if you have the drive to open your own shop and be like, it seems like the two of you are pretty focused. And like, you've been running this, it seems like you have your shit together. So it's like, why wouldn't you take on responsibility and just kind of make the money that you would want to make?
Yeah. I like the responsibility.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me grow up pretty quick.
Absolutely. I tell everybody when I started this, like, I was so lost. I was just drinking all the time. And like, I quit drinking, and that's kind of the catalyst to how this all started. And like, that whole responsibility of being in charge of like, okay, I have to get out of this situation. Okay, how do I get there? All right. And you just start building. Like, that makes you grow the fuck up unless you give up on it. But if you don't give up on it and keep going on it, like, when you have to start like paying taxes and like you have rent for a studio, and like you grow up fast.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make it work, and if you don't, then you don't have that anymore.
No, not at all. Is that where the name came from? Never Again Studio?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it's Never Again Clothing is how it started, but that's where the whole thing came from. And I was sober for 9.5 years, and then I just wanted to test the waters and see if all the work worked, and I'm able to just kind of have some beers now. And then like, once I did that, I kind of stopped the clothing, and I wanted to see if I was still drawn towards it, and it was just embedded in me where like it was I wish I had the creative outlet that like with drawing or even tattooing. And one of my biggest regrets is I used to hang out down that shop, and both the people that worked there they were like, we'll show you how to do it, like we think it'll work out for you, and I didn't do it. And I'm like, man, what would that have been like if I would have actually learned how to tattoo? Like my life would be completely different, because I wouldn't have chose to do this for the creative outlet, because I would have been able to get it out of drawing. But yeah, that's how this whole thing started. Is I quit drinking. I was living above a bar, and then I started working with a couple artists, and the name just kind of came, and then I was able to then create and dump that out on the t-shirts. Like I'm sure you guys know how that feels, where someone's like, hey, you know, like I need you to come up with this idea, and I mean it feels awesome to be able to take an idea and put it on paper. I just have to do it backwards from what you guys. I have to do it through you. But when it's on the t-shirt, it's still, you know, I get part of a feeling of creating. But yeah, that's how this whole thing started.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing goes into tattooing. Like that's a really satisfying feeling when someone comes to you with this idea that they're super passionate about, but they can't necessarily articulate it in the form of a drawing or something, and you're able to bring that to life to them. There's something really special about that.
Yeah, and that moment when they'd be like, okay, you're all done, and they wipe it down, and you can see they're proud of the work, and then they really can't hide how good it makes them feel that you're so happy. Like, 'cause I mean, it's 9 times out of 10 where the person's probably like, oh my God, thank you. Like, that's got to be a cool moment to have. I mean, I get it with selling somebody a t-shirt, but it's definitely not the same as putting a permanent fucking picture on somebody. Do you guys still like kind of get excited when people are excited that they really love the work?
Oh, I mean, for sure. But also, while I'm never 100% satisfied like Dylan in the stuff that I do recognize that I do an excellent job, you know? So when I wipe it down and see it's done, I'm stoked on it too, you know? I'm proud of it, and they're proud of it, and just, you know, it's positivity all around. Yeah. It feels good.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about that. I don't know, when someone like sees the tattoo, and every now and then like someone will like be drawn to tears from it, and that's always like, I don't know, that's really big for me. That's like, whoa, that's like, for me this was just work that I'm happy to be doing, but for them it means like that much to them. Like there's, I don't know, that's really impactful for me, and it makes me feel good anytime that happens.
I've never really had an in-depth conversation about tattooing this much, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, but I never realized is how many levels of gratification there are to being a tattoo artist. Like the travel, you're giving somebody what they want. The money's good if you figure a way out. You know what I mean? I like that there's a lot of responsibility of it's up to you. It's up to you to learn the craft. It's up to you to hustle the money. It's up to you to travel. Like I love that responsibility of it, but like there's so many different things with it that you get out of it that you really don't get out of like working in a factory. Like that stuff you're talking about, like you don't get that on a daily basis at all.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I couldn't imagine working any other job aside from being a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
What'd you guys do before it? Anything?
I just bagged groceries. I was 17.
Yeah.
I worked in retail, and I worked.
That's tough. It's dealing with people. I mean, you still deal with people, but
it's different.
It's on your terms.
And I worked at a pizza shop, and it was when I was working at the pizza shop and the owner got busted for selling drugs that I got my foot at the tattoo shop, because I lost my job at the pizza shop, and then my friend got me the job at the tattoo shop working the desk, and that was it.
Were they cutting you in on any of that money at the pizza shop?
No.
That would have been like, well, then I did a year in jail.
Maybe some product here and there.
Yeah.
But.
Fair enough.
You guys seem like positive people. Do you guys like push like the PMA and all that? And like, are you guys kind of like into that style of like, I don't know, like I know a lot of tattoo guys that are like super positive, and they like kind of push like the positive mental attitude and all that. Like, do you guys get involved in any of that stuff?
I wouldn't say specifically. Like, we're very progressive, and we try. I think we display very positive actions, but yeah, I'm not generally like hashtag PMA or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that our actions reflect the positivity and the pride that we have in the shop, and you know the way that we live and present ourselves, you know, without without saying it.
Yeah. Because I kind of wanted to segue into you guys started a project within the shop, or was it before the shop?
It was in combination with opening the shop.
That's kind of why I wanted to touch base on that. Like, how did you, like, we'll briefly explain what the project is, and then I kind of just want to touch on how you guys even got involved with that, because it's like super mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we started this project called Project Sakuro, and basically the service we offer is that we cover self-harm scars with tattoos free of charge. So that's the basis for the project, and we knew going into when we were opening the studio that we wanted to do some kind of charity work. And we played around with a couple of different ideas, and I think once this idea was floated, it kind of really resonated with us a lot.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge issue. And I mean, already knowing that it's a huge issue, and I think that it kind of, even not directly, but everyone at the studio kind of has like some indirect experience with that. We knew it was a problem. And then with how popular the project has been, it really makes it clear that there is a need for something like this. The response has just been incredible.
Yeah, it's been wild. I mean, personally, I have someone very close to me who's struggled with self-harm. So once we kind of floated this idea over the other ideas that had come up, this one just felt like really right. And in addition to that, it's kind of a big thing with a lot of our clients. Like, I feel like just the demographics that we tattoo, it's a major issue with like young people. Yeah, self-harm is just there's so many young people that struggle with it. It just felt like this was going to be the proper route for a charity project for us.
I think it's awesome. Like, I've personally struggled just massive bouts with depression, and I'm 40, goddamn. And at this age, like, years of therapy and cutting the drinking out for a while, that like really helped out tremendously. Exercise, and then I've met other people in the tattoo community, or just like people with tattoos. I'll talk to them, and then so like when the guys from D's Pickles were telling me about it, it struck home. And I think it's cool that you guys are doing that, because I know a ton of people that struggle with depression, and I know people that have directly been connected with suicide stuff and all that. So, and I don't know what the reason is why it's hard for people to kind of step up and have a voice behind mental health. I feel it's not. I push it on the show all the time. I'll have my buddy Bill on, and me and him will just go back and forth and just be like super honest with. I mean, he came on and like told a story about how he was trying to kill himself. So like, I don't know. I think it's awesome that the two of you, or the three of you, have decided to do something to support it, or to make people feel okay about anything with that. And it must feel awesome that the project has taken off to the point where it's like you said, you guys got like a ridiculous amount of emails when you went on. What was it, Fox? You said you went on?
Dylan was on Fox 29 News. Mm-hmm. I think at this point we've received over 6,000 emails, and we've also started to expand to try to bring other artists into this project.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it is something that each one of us at the shop handles one free tattoo a month. And with the incredible amount of people coming to us, we felt that, we certainly can't handle everyone. We can't handle everyone no matter what, even with help. But the more people who we bring into the project, the more people who are going to be able to be positively affected. So we've been sort of searching around for artists. Generally right now, it's people that we know personally.
Yeah. Because it's got to be difficult too, because it's probably outside of Philly as well.
Yes. And we've people in Cincinnati and Jersey, and we're open to, I'd love to see it all over the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's been challenging, is like really figuring out how to coordinate it properly, especially when it's, we're based in Philadelphia, and then just figuring out how to get like, okay, this person in Cincinnati is looking to get a cover up done. Like, I think kind of honing in that infrastructure on how to properly delegate these things to the different artists is going to be key as we continue to grow. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to see us be able to expand it, as big as it could possibly go.
Yeah, I mean, even just you pointing that out, I mean, if you structured it correctly and then got other people from different states and area all over that would be willing to put in the time, I mean, what a benefit that would be for a person, because it's like you come in, you're obviously going to talk about what happened, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's not going to be a topic. So then for them to be able to share that to someone, and like my therapist told me once that like the more you share stuff with like those traumatic stress and things like that happen, it becomes real and you can put it behind you. So you're not only are you kind of closing a chapter in their life, you're also letting them get that off their chest and kind of just start moving forward with their lives. And it's cool because I guarantee there's at least one person that like went on to like maybe live semi-normal or like to get a lot of their depression weight off of them. And I think it's really cool that you guys even give people the opportunity to do that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was also another major part of it. Like when, especially when that interview went live, like just the amount of people reaching out and sharing their stories with us was like heavy.
I'm sure it's extremely heavy.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I mean, we don't certainly require anyone to go into any kind of detail about what happened, but a lot of people do choose to.
Yeah.
I mean, even just getting tattooed, just from being in shops or getting tattooed, is you just start talking. And then the next thing you know, it's like a therapy session.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, well, this especially if like you're in the middle of a breakup, like that artist is getting the whole story. This bitch,
It's very, very cathartic for a lot of people in general, even without the cover-up aspect.
It's one of my favorite things about getting tattooed. It's like I always felt less stressed when I would get tattooed. And then I started noticing it, like the more and more I got. And then I started noticing, I'm like, all right, well, you're not just doing this because you want the art. Like there's obviously some kind of release here that you're getting from this. And then like, I don't know. I love getting tattooed. I started running out of space and now it's few and far between when I do it because I'm older, and I feel the older you get, the more it hurts. But I don't know. It's one of my favorite things to have done.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm one of the only tattoo artists who hates getting tattooed.
I hate getting my back is just an outline. I thought the back was going to be a breeze. And then I started yelling and everyone in the shop was laughing, and then everybody came in one by one and tell me how their back wasn't finished. And I was like, no one gave me the heads up. He hits me up every once in a while. I think it's been 3 or 4 years. I want to do it, but it just kills. It's the only one I was grabbing onto the table, and he goes, yo, I don't care you're doing that, but if you break it, like, you have to buy me another one. That felt like I was fucking done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought the back would be easy.
Like the mental thing, and, the mental aspect of it can be really refreshing, but it does not feel good.
No.
Because
I picked all the easy shit first.
Yeah.
So, well, no, I didn't. I'm so dumb. I got my arm done, and then I was like, you know what I want to do is my chest and stomach, and then that was just tattoo number 2, and then I was just like, this sucks. Like that was a rude awakening to realizing that every space feels different.
Oh yeah. Do you usually get tattooed by your friends or people you know personally?
It started out that way. My friend Stacy did. I did John, and then Stacy did a lot of my work, and then I started hanging out at the shop, and then you just, they're busy, and you just mosey over to the other person who works there, and then, all right, hey, can I get that done? And then I didn't start getting tattooed by strangers until I started getting tattooed at conventions, and then then that was so awesome because I was like, holy shit, I can get tattooed by, like my friend Stevie P, I forget where he lives. He lives, I think, I don't know if he's at now, Tennessee maybe, somewhere down south, but I would drive to him. I don't have the time to. So it's like he comes up to Scranton every year. So it's like I would do that once a year, and then we became friends. But like I'm not opposed to getting like but now I'm like, I'll come down to your shop like once things get up, and I'm like, oh, I'll get tattooed by those guys. Like I love that though. You know what I mean?
Like when I'm getting tattooed by my friends, I bitch and complain the whole
time.
Oh
yeah.
Then when you get tattooed by a stranger, you're like, all
cool.
tough about it,
Yeah, like I became friends with Stacy, and Stacy did I think she started my chest and stomach, and like we became friends and like we're super close. So I'd be like, oh my God, this hurts. Stop it. Oh my God. But when I got my tattoo with John, and it was just all like, just like dudes who were like, sup? And like, I'm just like 20 and I'm just like, hey guys. And then like, so I'd be like, yeah, it doesn't hurt. I'm like, yeah, you know, like I mean, like I was trying to be tough in front of them. With my friend, I was just like, oh my God, can we take a break? I just, you know, I wasn't asking for breaks with them. With her, I was like, hey, I'm just water. I just need a water. You want to take 5?
Yeah, take a lot of breaks with friends.
Yeah.
I had the most embarrassing thing happen. I was like 18 or something, and I was going to a very popular studio in the city, and this dude, Danny, was coming there to guest spot. And he's like real like Instagram famous and shit. So I'm like so nervous, like meeting him and stuff.
I forgot about all that now too.
So we get like 5 minutes into the tattoo, and I'm like trying to play it cool, and I realize I'm like, dude, I'm gonna fucking pass out right now. And like I just had to like, hey man, like I don't feel so good. Can you give me some water? He didn't have like any water or anything. He's like, dude, I have a cough drop. Like
a cough drop. That's the worst.
Oh, that was miserable. I felt really stupid about.
What'd you have to do? Power through it?
Fortunately, after I like kind of gathered myself, it ended up being fine for the rest of the time. But just like, I don't know. I guess I was just overwhelmed.
That's got to be different now too. Like when you pointed that out, it's like when these artists become like super Instagram famous, and then it's like there's that built pressure of like, oh my God, this is the person. Like, I don't know. I feel like before you would have to go in, look through the book, and there wasn't that. But if you're like studying somebody and following somebody and seeing every single day they post, or like now it's like somebody can post flash, and then I'll be like, fuck, like, because someone would be like, hey, I had a cancellation. Does anyone want this? And I was like, man, that's really dope. Like I don't know. It's evil. It's evil what Instagram, because it's probably like fishing, man. You can just bring people in nonstop if you hammer that social media correctly.
Yeah. I mean, we're very fortunate. It is funny to see the dichotomy. You know, some people will email and they're like, hey, I want this thing. And you're like, well, I'm booking for like October. So here's the booking process. And they're like, oh, I was hoping to get it this week. Yeah. And then other people are like, absolutely, I'll wait as long as it takes.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Are you guys booked out pretty far?
I'm booking for October.
Yeah, I'm booking. Well, I mean, this is also accounting for the coronavirus reschedules, but I'm.
Oh man, that's probably got to push. Oh, that's probably been a
tough.
motherfucker. Because how far back were you before this, and now you got to push 3 months back, and just how many phone calls is that? Please tell me you pay somebody to do it.
That's all email, but yeah,
phone calls.
It's awful.
Show your age, Michael.
I feel really fortunate that I have not had any pushback. Clients have waited 3 or 4 months to get tattooed, and then this happens, and I'm like, listen, it's going to be another 6 months.
I mean, when it affects the whole world, the person can't really be upset.
I mean, I understand disappointment, feeling disappointment, but no one has blamed me. No one has asked for a deposit back or anything. It's been, my clients have been really understanding.
Yeah. I've had the exact same experience. Like everyone's been very just cool about it. And yeah, I don't know. It's really nice to see these clients that are like, you know, that stoked to get work from us. They're like, no, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. I understand. Like, cool. Like I would be pretty fucking bummed were I on the other end. So it's nice to see.
What do you guys see moving forward that you want to do with the shop? Because you've been open, what, a year and a half?
We've been open a year, a little under a year.
Yeah. Where do you see it going? Like, what's like, you know, you guys have it up, it's open. You now have like a specific style that you guys are pushing. Everything's kind of like firing full cylinders. Take coronavirus out of this. Like, where do you want this to go?
When we opened, we wanted to have a shop that sort of implemented these progressive ideals in terms of like how our artists pay booth rent, and like the way that we treat the artists and handle meetings, and the way that we handle our desk manager, and the way that the clients are treated, and everything is very purposeful and considered, and we want to continue that and continue to refine it. We have tried to implement some progressive marketing techniques. You know, we have like crown and feather coins minted, that we use in lieu of gift cards. And, if we meet someone, we can use it in lieu of a business card. Trying just more progressive outlets in every aspect of the business, and just to push that further. I think eventually we would like to open a second studio, maybe something that does have the options for walk-ins, because all of our artists now are booked out, and because it is a private studio, we simply cannot offer same-day service. Yeah. And I'd like to, so that's sort of on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right with him.
You were saying how you want to travel more as well?
Yeah, that's something I'm looking into personally, because this past year I've started experimenting with guest spots and stuff. Like I went up to New York to do a spot, and I ended up really enjoying it. So I think over the next year or so I want to start maybe traveling somewhere different every like 3 months or so. Like I have a guest spot lined up for I forget what month it is, but I'm going out to Los Angeles. And then beyond that, the cool thing about this studio is they have connections with other studios. So like some of their, the person who owns the spot in Los Angeles, they also have a spot in Hamburg, Germany, and Berlin. So
that would be cool.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to start doing some international travel too.
That'd be real coul.
I'm not trying to invite myself or anything, but
I'll cut that into a promo for you.
Yeah, I'll send it their way.
That's awesome. I want to start wrapping up. I know you guys got to ride home, and the invitation to, if you guys ever want to promote anything or you ever want to come back on just to bullshit about like art and whatnot, let me know. I definitely want to talk to you when it's over, because I want to get tattooed by one of you, and I'll put in for after October. But I appreciate you guys coming up here, and I think I haven't really talked about the tattoo industry in a long time. It's like I have a lot of friends who tattoo, so I fully support it, and I think it's really cool what the two of you are doing, not only with the mental health stuff, and I'll get into that, but like the two of you are just building your own thing, and that's why I bring everybody on here, and it's what I like to pull out from everybody on here, is that like you guys had an idea, and from the two of you, you both obviously wanted to do art, and then you chased after art, and then you wanted to tattoo, and then you chased after tattooing, then you tattooed, then you wanted to open your own thing, and you did that. And like that's so important for me to push to people, is like it's literally just taking steps forward, not left or right. It's if you stay on track of like what you want to do, what your gut tells you. Like you guys both could have easily went awry and not did art for a living, and like to hear like the both of you seem like genuinely happy people. Like when you talk about like what you get to do, like you're like, wow, like this is great. And I think it's important to push to people that like you should really listen to that gut feeling, because I like to present people who have made a living out of what they want to do. And it's like the whole show is like, it's who you are. So like showcasing the two of you and the three of you, what you've built with the shop, like it's important. And I think it's really cool that you get to do what you love to do for a living. And then you add the mental health, which so many people don't step up to get behind. And I think it's important that you do that. And they mentioned a couple things about you guys, and I was like, absolutely, I'll hit them up. I mean, I hit you up 10 minutes after they left and was like, yo, dude, like that's awesome that you guys are doing this. And I knew I'd get to showcase that. And like when we talked before, it's like, that's awesome that you do that, and you're already famous for that, but it's like the other side of what I want to point out is like you guys do what you want to do for a living, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I feel so fortunate every day that we are able to do what we do for a living. Like I really couldn't imagine it any other way.
Yeah. What you were saying about just taking a step forward, it made me think of the Tim Ferriss book, and one of the quotes in there is like, you should be making mistakes of ambition rather than mistakes of sloth. Like,
yeah.
If you're gonna, if you're not happy where you're at, you gotta just make moves, and bad stuff will happen and good stuff will happen, but just try to keep doing stuff, keep moving.
It's important you say that as well, because it's like I just had a conversation with somebody when I have a new t-shirt coming out, and it's like I've put out a ton of t-shirts. Some of them I sold out of, some of them are still in the back. But like from making mistakes, like I know now, like I've made so many mistakes over the year, and that's the only reason I know what to do correct now. So it's like, that's such a good feeling to have fucked up that many times in the last 10 to 15 years that I'm like, oh, okay, here's what we're going to do. All right, well, we're going to do only one color on a t-shirt, because when I'm doing, you know, like I remember the first t-shirt I did where it was like 12 colors, and then they're like, that's $15 a piece, and I'm like, well, I wanted to sell them for 20. Like, you know what I mean? Like where you start, but if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have understood how the concept of branding and branding my logo as one color and keeping it simple. And then I look at stuff like North Face and I'm like, oh, well, that's why they did that, because you know what I mean? And like just keeping things simple and not having a ton of stuff in it and sending a message through that. Like it's important to make mistakes, and I feel like people give up too easily, and I don't know. That's why I like showcasing this stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
I want to thank both of you for coming on here. Please give, and I'll have all this tagged in the episode and all that, but like any way that they can get a hold of the studio, yourselves, anybody, for how they would want to look up information on this or book to get tattooed.
Right on.
Yeah. I think the main one is just crownandfeather.com. To find, you know, you can book with all of our artists there, and you know, find out more information about the project. As for Instagram, it's at Crown and Feather.
Crown and Feather Tattoo.
At Crown and Feather Tattoo. I'm on Instagram at Dylan Carr Tattooer, and
I am at Nick the Tailor, Tailor.
Cool. I don't know how to end these ever, so it's just uncomfortable. But thank you again for coming on, and I appreciate you guys driving up.
Of course, no problem.